The 2019 season for the Overwatch League is very quickly coming to an end, and even though it's still going on and that's kind of what we're still paying attention to, today, the 2020 Overwatch League season schedule was revealed to us. And I figured, hey, why not make a video about this news? Let's take a little break from what's happening in the present and take a look at what's to come in the future. The Overwatch League posted this really big article with the entire 2020 schedule, which I will leave a link to in the description if you want to check it out for yourself, but I quickly just wanted to read out what it said before getting into the schedule. So here we go. We recently shared some high-level details about what next season will look like for the Overwatch League, and today we're excited to share the 2020 schedule so you can start planning your weekends, your time off, your vacations, your road trips, and your viewing parties. With matches in 20 cities around the world, there will be many chances to join us for a match in 2020. Here's just a taste of some great opportunities to see the best Overwatch players in the world compete. Grab your friends and kick off the season in New York on February 8th. Take your loved one on a Valentine's Day date in Shanghai, then catch some matches the next day on the Dragon's home turf. Ever wanted to see Seoul in the winter? Head to the heart of esports in early March for the Dynasty's first home games. Don't put off that dream Paris vacation any longer. Book it to coincide with the Eternals' first home matches on April 11th. Cheer on San Francisco versus Washington on the 4th of July in Vancouver. Check your birthday weeks and your friends' birthday weeks all the way up to the end of the regular season on August 9th, 2020. Mark your calendars now. 2020 tickets go on sale Wednesday, August 28th on overwatchleague.com. Stay tuned to your favorite team's social media accounts for announcements about where their new homes will be. It'll be your new home too. In the meantime, join us at the Blizzard Arena, home to the play-in tournament and all of the season playoffs up until the grand finals in Philadelphia. Tickets will go on sale in China and Korea at a later date. So as you can see from all of this, we have some very interesting information. For one, it would seem that the season is going to kick off in New York, so the NYXL homestand is going to be up first on February 8th. Make sure to mark it down on your calendars, folks. I'm sure it's going to be an absolute blast. There's a couple of other crucial pieces of information that you should keep locked in your mind. For one, the regular season will last from February 8th all the way until August 9th, and I'm assuming the postseason will start shortly after that. But then also, make sure to grab your tickets because they're going to go on sale on August 28th. That's just 8 days away as of this recording. Also, make sure to keep an eye on social media because we don't know where every single team is going to play yet next year, but if that is something you'd like me to cover and you want me to tell you where certain teams are going to play when they announce it, make sure to let me know down in the comment section. Okay, that's everything I got out of this article, so now let's dive straight into the schedule. And you know what? Why not put up every single week of the first month of the season on the screen for you guys so we can talk about the games and which ones are looking interesting and then where they're being played. Obviously, we can talk about stuff that has to do with the time zones, maybe burnout. There's a whole bunch of stuff we could talk about. And no, I don't plan on going over every single game of the regular season in this video just because we'd be here all day, but I figured it'd be kind of fun to at least go over the first month. Okay, so rolling into week one, as I mentioned earlier, we start things off by going to New York for the first couple of games. Then we will go to the Dallas homestand shortly after, and if I'm going to be honest, the matches that look really interesting obviously are, for one, the NYXL versus London Spitfire. That's a rivalry game, and plus it's in New York, so I'm sure the energy is going to be at an all-time high. Then Gladiators versus Titans looks pretty good, and even Fuel versus Valiant could be decent just because the last time they played at Dallas, it was an absolute blowout, so I'm sure the Valiant wants some revenge. And then what you'll notice is that Sunday is going to be the same format as Saturday, where the first couple of games will be in New York, then the other two will be in Dallas. But this is not what the schedule is always going to look like. Sometimes you're only going to have 3 games on each day during the weekend, or maybe on one day you'll have 4 matches, then 3 on the other. It's going to be very mixed. Anyway, moving on to Sunday of week 1, some of the games that stand out to me are New York versus Boston because of that classic rivalry between the two cities. Then of course Valiant versus Titan should make for a very good rematch. Alright, so moving on to week 2, your home games will be in Shanghai and Philadelphia, and this is where I wanted to take a moment to talk about the time zones. So what you'll notice at the bottom of your screen is that it says all times are local, and no, they're not referring to where you live, they're talking about the places in which the games are being played. So with Shanghai's home games, for an example, when they say 4 or 6 p.m. is when the start time is for the games, they mean in China's time, they mean in their time zone. So for me, for an example, the difference between China and where I live is 12 hours. So when those games start, it'll be like 4 a.m. for me or 6 a.m. So that means if you're American, you're going to have to share in the pain that other places in the world do. You're not going to be able to catch every game. It's just simply not going to be possible unless you stay up or record it or whatever. So yeah, there are going to be games that even I miss. I'm not going to stay up till 4 or 6 a.m. just to watch a game. That's crazy. So yeah, don't be confused by the fact that like the Spark and the Dynasty and the Outlaws and Mayhem play at the same time, for an example, because they actually don't. It'll be in Shanghai time, then in Philadelphia time. There's going to be a lot of adjusting that some fans are going to have to do, so make sure to take into account when games are going to start for your time zone. Even though I'm a little sad that I will be missing some games here and there, I think it's good for some of the other places in the world, not just America, because like the EU people or the people in China, for an example, or Korea, they'll be able to catch games no problem. They won't have to stay up till some weird time to watch games. It'll be better for them. Oh, and if you're wondering what games look good to me, I think all of the games taking place in China and then the Philly versus Justice game are all going to be pretty solid to watch. Moving on to week 3, this is where you'll notice that there's some variety in the schedule, as there's only 3 games on each day. And then also remember that the home games will be in Guangzhou and Washington. If you're wondering why some weekends are going to have less action compared to others, basically just know it has to do with teams getting extra rest. So in terms of the matches, I would say that most of them are looking really promising. Like you have Seoul versus Valiant, Dragons versus Gladiators, Charge versus Shock, Uprising versus Outlaws, Fusion versus NYXL, Hunters versus Valiant, Dragons versus Shock, Charge versus Gladiators, Justice versus Spitfire. These games all sound really good. As we transition into week 4, let's talk about burnout for a little bit, shall we? So if you're concerned about players maybe just not being able to handle traveling so much and just living in a different environment, for those who decide to live in a team house really far away from their previous home, I wouldn't be too concerned. I'm sure some people will feel homesick or they'll feel a little burnt out just because there's extra stress involved, since they're not just practicing the game all the time and playing in matches. They also have to travel around. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and just like with any other sport in real life, travel is part of the deal. If you can't handle it, then you're not meant to be in the esports scene. That's just how it is. At the end of the day, I feel that a large majority of the players are going to be able to handle it, and they'll have the mental fortitude necessary to push onward. But if some people feel like quitting, well, then that's what they have to do. There's nothing we can do to stop it. Even if it's your favorite player, if they want to stop, then they want to stop. But I think that most people should be able to handle it. Plus, it's not like these players are getting no breaks whatsoever. There are going to be off weeks for them here and there, plus there's the All-Star break at mid-season. There's going to be time for them to decompress and just chill. Oh, and real quick, if you're wondering what games are looking interesting in my opinion for the Hangzhou and Houston days, I think that Dallas versus Seoul should be good. That's a rivalry. Shock versus Hunters might be good. Gladiators versus Spark. There's a couple of hidden gems here and there. Even Titans versus Dragons could very well end up being entertaining. Even Houston versus London could end up being good. Yes, I know that Houston hasn't done great against the Spitfire in the 2019 season, but in 2018, they gave the Spitfire all they could handle. They beat them a bunch of times in the regular season. I'm pretty sure they never actually lost to London once, only in that one stage 1 playoff game. Plus, Houston is at home, and I get the feeling they're going to be one of those teams that really just feeds off of the energy that the crowd gives them. And now, here is your final week of month 1. Again, I apologize for not going over the entire schedule, but again, I feel like this video would just be way too long if I did that. So while that is up on the screen, let me quickly just talk about my opinion when it comes to Overwatch League players not being able to stream as much. I know that some people do like to stream quite often, like Super and Sleepy, Agilities, etc., and now that's probably not going to be possible anymore. Now, obviously, this doesn't mean they're never going to stream ever again. I'm sure they're going to find times to make it work, and when they have weeks off or during the All-Star break, you'll see them stream, but it won't be as regular as right now, I feel, just because there's so much traveling involved, so they're not going to be with their own setup probably all the time. I don't know how it's going to work exactly, but I'm expecting some of these Overwatch League players to stream a little bit less than usual, at the very least. I'm sure that some fans of specific players are going to be a little upset by this, but at the end of the day, it's important to realize that OWL is their main priority. That's their number one job. They aren't streamers. They're not full-time streamers. That's what they do on the side. It's the unfortunate truth, but that's just how it is. Anyway, now let me just quickly give my thoughts on week 5, and the first big thing that I notice is that finally we get some Seoul Dynasty home games. We also get some more Washington Justice ones, but in particular, I'm really excited for the Seoul ones just because South Korea is kind of like the heart of esports, so I feel like the environment is going to be so amazing. It's going to be like nothing else we've ever seen, and also it'll be the first time we get like major tier 1 stuff in Korea since Apex, basically. It's true that South Korea still has had some hype moments like with Contenders and with the Gauntlet and whatnot, but I feel that this is just on a much grander scale. It's going to remind us all of Apex heavily, I feel. Oh, and you have to feel happy for any of the Seoul Dynasty players or anybody who's Korean in general that gets to play in the Seoul homestands because they're going to be right at home again. They're not going to be far away from home. They'll be actually in South Korea where they were born and raised. As for which games are looking good to me, I think Spark versus Shock should be pretty decent, but then also the big one to take away is Seoul Dynasty versus LA Gladiators just because that is Seoul's first ever home game, so you already know that that place is going to be electrifying. Any home game involving the Dynasty will probably end up being super entertaining, so with that said, Dynasty versus Gladiators and Dynasty versus Shock are must-watch games in my opinion. I think that Justice versus NYXL could also be good since that's in Washington. Then even Charge versus Titans has the potential to be good since they seem like they match up pretty well with one another on paper. Plus, I'm sure this is going to be a really emotional moment for any former runaway players on the Titans because they finally get to play in their home country again for the first time since Contenders, which is their origin story. This is how they got to the Overwatch League, through Contenders in Korea. So yeah, that's basically what the 2020 season schedule is looking like for the first month. So make sure to let me know what games you're looking forward to down in the comment section, and rejoice my EU and Asian friends because finally you get to watch matches in your local time. You don't have to stay up till these really weird times to watch games because you're going to get matches in Shanghai, you're going to get matches in Chengdu, Guangzhou, London. It's going to be great for you guys and I'm super excited. Also, if you're wondering if I'm ever going to attend any sort of homestand event, the answer is maybe. I live on the East Coast, I live in Connecticut if you didn't know, so I will likely go to a New York or Boston homestand if I do choose to go to one. I don't know though, I don't really know anybody IRL that likes the Overwatch League like I do, so it may be tough because I don't really like traveling by myself, but we'll have to see. Maybe I'll make an appearance at one of them because I'm sure a bunch of you want to meet me. And with that being said, that's basically everything I've got for you boys and girls today, so if you did enjoy this content, then I would appreciate it if you could give this video a thumbs up and sub to my channel if you're new. Also, you can further support me by following my Twitter at ATP Overwatch and by joining my Discord through the link in the description. As always, thank you all so much for watching today's video. I really do appreciate all of you, and until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.